Well, here we are. We are in. Well, let me rephrase this. I am Donnie. I am here in the Point Studios, and we got Sam from X Ambassadors hanging out in Malibu on the beach. What's going on,
That's
dude?
right. Oh man, I am in paradise right now. I live, so my wife and I live way, way, way on the opposite side of town. And so we rarely get out here to the beach, but today we just said screw it, and we got in the car and we drove out first thing, and it's man, it's understandable why people pay millions and millions and millions of dollars to have houses out here.
Now, when you're out there, I mean, are you seeing people being smart about their social distancing, about keeping space and stuff? Because that would be my fear, to be honest with you, man.
There's not a lot of people here right now. There are not many people here, and anyone who is here, I've seen, is wearing a mask. Whenever someone gets close enough, like whenever anyone gets closer than like 15 feet, it's like a mask is on. So everyone's being pretty smart out here. It's kind of everywhere else. In my neighborhood in Echo Park, it's a little more, kind of half and half, which is aggravating. But man, I'm wearing my mask all the time. You see, I got it right here just in case.
Yeah.
So
it's just the way to go. Now, Sam, here's the big question. For a band that was not supposed to have an abundance of free time, you have had an abundance of free time. So what do you do with that time? And I'm sure maybe initially you're like, oh, I get a little time to spend with my wife and the dog, and that's great. But after a while, man, I would bet you that's got to get pretty old.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because there's never a moment in my life where I am not working on something, because I'm kind of a bit obsessive with music and with art in general and making stuff, because it's what I love to do. It's like it's my hobby. It's what I think about doing when I'm working, and then when I'm working, all I'm thinking about is doing that. So I've been writing a bunch. I mean, we wanted to have a couple months after this European tour ended to finish up the record, and we did. Over the last month or so, we finished our next album. It's awesome, very weird, and like very much. I feel like it's me being my truest self in all of my weird kind of ways. So I've been busy on that. I'm working on a couple other projects. We have another project that we're slowly developing. It's in the first weeks of its, infancy right now, but there's plenty to do. And then there's also nothing to do, the fact that we are, I haven't been in one city, this long since 2012. Yeah,
man. And so again, I'm sure that some of that is good, but you're not accustomed to that sort. I mean, just that kind of lifestyle that you have is not conducive for just being in one place for a super long ass period of time.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's really weird. But you know what? I'm like, when we get back out on the road, and I speak for, I think, myself and the rest of my band and probably the entire music community, like I'm going to come on that stage with a completely new appreciation for it. And it'd be hard to imagine getting burnt out. I was starting to feel a little burnt out at the end of this tour, right before COVID hit and we had to kind of escape Europe. And, because we had been on the road straight for almost 8 years, pretty much. It was with bits of, time here and there, but like, even if we have a month off, right, it's like there's still maybe a show or two that happens, like a private gig or a college gig. So you're not fully stationary for that month. You're traveling here and there, and there's promo and whatnot. And we've been putting out a lot of music. So I'm just going to come back with a whole new appreciation for the touring game, I think, when we get back. And, I know it's going to be different.
It's going to have to be. Yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the part that I'm curious about is what's going to be the next steps in not only, the shows opening up, but, the shows opening up is one thing, but getting people to feel comfortable to come out to the shows is seemingly a whole nother thing. But I'm like you, man. I was definitely getting burnt out on shows, or at least felt that way. And it's given me a lot of time to just kind of think back and reflect like, oh my gosh, this is so lucky to be in this frame of gig where I get to do this. I need to like quit being a whining, crabby ass old man, which is kind of where I go sometimes.
Yeah. Listen, it's crazy what happens to you when you start, when you lose that sense of being in the present moment. And it's amazing what you can get so jaded by and take for granted. Yeah, man, and when coming back to touring is going to be very, very interesting too, in its own kind of struggle. I think that you're right. People are going to feel not so safe being in large crowds for a while. And I think it's going to, I don't know how I feel about this whole drive-in concert thing. We haven't done one yet. I know that a couple friends of ours, Andrew McMahon and Fits and Tantrums, are doing them. I'm curious to hear back from them how it goes. But the idea to me of doing really small shows is actually kind of cool. On the one hand, it kind of makes me go into cold sweats because I'm like, oh my God, do I have to go back to traveling around the country in a van?
Right.
But then also the idea of being so close and so intimate with a small group of people and playing like a sweaty rock show is kind of cool. Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. It's a crazy landscape right now, and hard to kind of imagine what
even know what's next. Like. Yeah, man. Yes. So one of my favorite songs so far this year, without a doubt, has been this amazing collaboration with Grandson and K.Flay. And
thank you.
One of the reasons that I was really excited to talk to you, man, was because I've met you a bunch of times over the years. You're one of the nicest dudes. And then on top of that, you've got K.Flay and Grandson, who are legitimately, if you don't like those two people, the problem is you, not them.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Find the collaboration to be so fantastic. Like, it's such a great song. Can you kind of talk about the genesis of that idea and how it all kind of came to pass?
Well, thank you, man. First of all, I love that song. I'm glad that you love it as much as we loved making it. It was so organic the way it came together. It was so Christine, K.Flay, and I are friends and have been friends for a while. We worked on another song called Confidence on our last record. And I love her as a writer. I just love her style. I love her lyrics. I love her energy. I love her melody. Like, she's just one of the best artists out there, in my opinion. And Grandson I'd never worked with, but I was a big fan. And for me, someone like him who was so young and so outspoken politically and socially conscious and like engaged with his fans in a way that, I just think is so cool. I was very excited to write with him. And we had a virtual session on the books at the beginning of this whole lockdown quarantine. And I kind of I got a little cold feet. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to write my best stuff with him like this, So I called him up a couple days before we were supposed to write together. And I said, hey, I don't know if I can do this writing session right now. Maybe we wait until this whole thing blows over. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. No pressure. We can also just like try writing just something like whatever. I'm a fan of yours, and we can just write a weird little song about, these living in these uncertain times. And we'll have a real writing session when it's all over. And I got off the phone with him, and immediately that line was in my head. I think because the pressure was off, I just had this line in my head. Someone give me Zen. And I just can I swear on this? I'll keep it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, someone give me fucking Zen.
I encourage you.
I was like, someone give me fucking Zen. And I wrote that down, and I started this little acoustic guitar demo, and I sent it to him, and he immediately got the vibe and wrote a verse and then wrote a bridge. And then I was like, hey, how would you feel about making this like a supergroup thing and putting Christine on it? Because they knew each other too. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I called Christine, sent it to her. First thing she sends back, it's it. And then I put it all in the session, and I have Adam send me drums, and I have Casey send me keyboard stuff, and I just kind of put it all together, in my bedroom. Not my bedroom, my studio. It was a spare bedroom.
That's so amazing to me how that happens. Like that's like how you read it in a story, man. Like, but I think also too, I think that points to a very cool thing where artists can kind of show their vulnerability to others sometimes, to be like, I think that's I think we all kind of sit with that in our fields, like, wow, this person is different or they're really good. So it makes it kind of, man, you kind of question yourself a little bit there though, man. But then something comes in and breaks down the walls and boom, you got magic. That's really fantastic.
Yeah. And it was so cool too, because like we kind of made all the stuff ourselves. I made the single art. K.Flay and Jordan, came up with the like kind of the cucumbers and the eyes and all that whole thing, and then Christine directed the music video for it. So it was just us kind of making all the stuff ourselves, with the assistance of the people at Interscope and it felt so like kind of DIY. Even though we have a major record label behind us.
Absolutely. Well, listen, let me ask you one quick thing before I let you get back to the beach, because I can hear the waves and I'm jealous. But one of the things that I read in preparing, one of the things that I read in preparing for this today that I did not know was that you had written a few tracks on the Lizzo record, which I did not know. And that was one of my favorite things, one of my favorite records. But something that you said in the article that I read, I wanted to ask you about, because you said that, and obviously you're going to clean this up and make this what you actually said, but something to the effect of, it's harder for when you're writing for your own band and for yourself than when you're writing for somebody else. Can you talk about that? Because I would almost think that it would be the reverse, that it would be harder to put words in someone else's mouth.
Oh, well, man, as soon as your ego is gone, the possibilities are endless, that's the thing, when I'm writing for myself, it's all about my own life and my ego. And I think there are times when I can tap into it from an interesting place and like be honest and there are times when it's just like very hard to dig that deep, but I find that it's almost like writing for other people. I find things I learn about myself in that process, because I'm I'm able to kind of like just let go of my own shit and think about someone else and hear a song in their world and their voice. It unlocks something in me. And the Lizzo, so it was actually really the whole band. We produced 3 songs on her album, and I co-wrote the top line with her on those 3 songs. But it was such a cool experience for us as a band, because we had always wanted to produce for other artists as well. There are a couple other incredible writing collectives that I know of that are, a bunch of people who are songwriters and musicians, and they all hang out together. They all write songs together. And I was writing with all of them, and I was kind of, this is kind of like what we do in my band. Like, we all kind of write songs together. We all play instruments. We all kind of play our own parts. Why can't we do this and be a production team too? And Lizzo was our first real experience doing that, and could not have turned out better.
Wow. It is amazing for a guy like me who Sam, I love music and have since I was a kid, but the idea of sitting down to write a line of a song just is so like out of the realm of something that I could do. So when I
Yeah.
see you that are, I'm writing for you, writing for your own band, writing for Lizzo, Jesus, man, like that's just, it's amazing to me that you have that sort of ability to come up with songs like that. Jeez.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, it comes from years and years and years of writing really terrible songs, and then also just like a love and passion for that kind of expression, and I really truly think that when I feel like I land on something that is honest and pure in that honesty, or land on it with something with another artist, it's magic.
Man, well, I'll tell you what, you got some magic right now with your track with K.Flay and Grandson. You like how I tied that up, Sam? That's
I
a
love it.
professional
That was
DJ
beautiful
stuff right there, dude. The song is
beautiful.
called Zen. It's amazing, and we really can't wait to not only see you back out on the road, but look forward to the new record from you guys. And Sam, we always appreciate your time. Thank you for letting me interrupt each day, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man, listen, all good. I'm very happy to talk to you. But everybody stay safe out there, all right?
We will. Take care, Sam. Hope to see you soon.
Take care, man.
All right, dude.